Trae is the business owner of Photography by Trae, and she also works with branding and I probably still photography. So why don't you give us a little brief history of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so the briefest history that I can explain, I started in retail and I started creating knit items for newborn photographers. And because I was doing that, I had to learn how to use my camera to take
Ah,
those pictures, the product
good.
pictures for the knit items. And I really fell in love with newborn photography and
Mm.
had a photographer say, "Hey, come to a workshop and you can sell the knit items and I'll teach you
Ah,
how to
okay.
take photos and have better product
Sure.
photos." But I thought, wow, I'd really love to be a newborn photographer. And so I got into that and then started doing maternity and family. And then in 2018, there was a course being offered on brand photography. And I thought, this is really
Mm.
interesting because as a business owner, I was already doing branding for my knit business and I was doing branding for myself. And both my parents being entrepreneurs, I know about
Okay.
branding and marketing.
Sure.
I thought, this course sounds amazing. So I took the course and learned about the storytelling that goes along with the branding of a business. And I really
Good.
fell in love with that side of marketing. And it just kind of evolved from there. I had a couple of different business models that I tested out and tried, and then kind of landed on the one that I have right now, where we initially meet and talk a little bit about your brand, what you're doing, how your social media looks. And we can either just interact that way and do a coaching session, or I can give you a worksheet that will kind of highlight some things that you need to change or could change. Or we can have that one on one time together, like you and I did, or we can take it to the
Yep.
next level. And I can do a brand session for you as a photographer and even come up with content.
Really?
And so that's kind of how it's evolved over the past, wow, 12 years. So
12
it's been a
years.
little bit of a
Wow.
journey,
Sure.
but it has been really fun.
Very good. Very good. Now, I know we talked and worked together a little bit, and you said there's a difference between branding and marketing. Could you explain to my listeners what the difference is between branding and marketing? And you've chosen branding, so why do you choose branding versus marketing?
Yeah, so the difference between branding and marketing. So, branding is who you are and what your business is, who you stand for. And then marketing is what you do with that. So, a lot of people kind of mesh those together, and they really are separate things. Your marketing would be advertising, and your
Okay.
branding would be what you're advertising. So you don't really know what to advertise until you know what your brand is. It's really the foundation of your business. You know, when you come up with the idea, that's wonderful, but you also need to know who your business is, who you are. And when you understand those things, then you can share with the world what your offer is.
Okay. Very good. No, that's good because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who start a business and they're like, who am I going to be? And that
Right.
kind of wishy-washy until you figure out who you're going to be. And or they say I'm going to be X, and they're not there, and it's kind of
Yes.
the imposter syndrome kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Exactly. Or some people have defined their target market and audience and then changed who they are to meet those demands.
Gotcha.
And that doesn't really work because people can see through the inauthenticity. And you can't, I mean, I guess you could try to be something you're not, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Sure.
And I really
Sure.
love to encourage people. And you kind of asked, why did I go into branding over marketing? I'm a storyteller. And you would probably think, well, then you should totally be in the marketing side of things. But I actually love the heart of the story and
Mm,
origins and how and why. And that's what I love helping people uncover and discover.
sure. Very good. Very good. And I think it helps a lot because I know when I was first starting out, I was told I am this. This is what I'm offering as a coach, or this is what I'm supposed to act like. And I'm like, I don't really feel it. And they're just
Yeah.
like, think about it. Think that you're the greatest coach in the world and you'll become a great coach. And I tried, but
Mm,
to me, mentally, I could not wrap my head around it.
yeah,
I could not do it. After I got experience and I've helped somebody, I've seen how I've helped them, and I see other opportunities of helping people. I have a whole lot more confidence now because I'm there. I feel like I can help people, and I've done it, and so I am more authentic about who I am,
right.
and then I start bringing who I am historically to the table rather than what people have told me what to do. So yeah, I see that very much so.
Exactly. Because they want a relationship with you, not
Yeah,
who you aspire to be, or I mean, maybe a little bit, because hopefully we're all growing, or
we are
who you're
growing.
told to be, or who you're trying to attract. People really will resonate with you for who God created you to be.
Yep, very good. So if I was starting out new and fresh as a business owner and didn't feel like I had branded it all before, what would be the first steps I would need to take before to brand myself?
Yeah, I think I really love talking to people that are at the very beginning. Talking to them about who they are. The things that I love to talk about are what are your skills that you're coming to the table with? What are the experiences that you've had in the past? And then has there been anything pivotal that's happened to you? Because people usually
Okay.
have something that's happened, maybe a catastrophic event,
Yes. Yep.
or some big change that they've undergone, or maybe something that they've overcome that has made them want to take on this new endeavor, a new challenge, or this business, or they have a skill in it. They went to school for it. They were in cosmetology school, and now they want to specialize in blow drying hair or in vivid hair color or whatever, and that's going to be their specialty. Well, they went to school for that, so they can talk about that. Or they have an experience, where maybe they've experienced something that will translate into their business. And the interesting thing that I found is when people start sharing one of those three things, it starts helping them attract people to them based on who they are, their experiences, their talents, their abilities. So that's really what I try to help people with, is that very beginning, knowing those three things.
Okay. Very good. So is there any mistakes that people make on a regular basis that you could help us avoid in when we start down the marketing, not the marketing, the branding path?
Yeah, actually, I'm really glad you asked that, because most people, like I was kind of sharing a little bit before, think about, oh, I want a luxury client. I want someone who's going to spend this money. Or they try to target maybe a popular group of people when it really needs to be reverse engineered. And you really need to know yourself, your experiences, what you're bringing to the table to actually help you to attract those people. Because we usually see one of two things happen: like attracting like, or opposites attracting, right? Like I have a
Okay.
strength,
Yep.
and my strength is your weakness, so you're looking for help in this area, so you will come to me. Or we have things in common, and there's a
Hmm.
common ground, and you say, I trust you because we have things in common. So I
Very
think
good.
the failure at the beginning is when we kind of put the cart before the horse. We start marketing, okay, this is who I'm trying to connect with, or maybe we buy something to make us be a part of this crowd of people that own this vehicle or this bag or this whatever, instead of just authentically being who we are and sharing that. So I think that's one of the trip ups that happen to people in the beginning of business. They get the cart before the horse, and they
Sure.
really start off with the advertising and marketing, but they don't really know themselves or what they have to offer, before they just start selling.
Yep. You are saying a lot about finding out a lot about yourself in, instead of finding out who your client is first.
Yeah.
It seems like there's got to be a mix because, or maybe not, um, because if I want to serve a certain clientele, I
Mhm.
back up. If I want to serve a certain clientele, and I look at myself and figure out I can't adequately serve them, what happens then?
I mean, for me, for example, I don't do weddings. So I have someone that I refer to. that
Okay.
does the weddings. Or I don't know if that's kind of what you're asking, or if I'm seeking to serve a certain type of person. I think there's just going to be bad fits, you know?
Okay.
There's going to be people that are, everyone talks about the ideal client and the
Yep.
person that they love to service. And sometimes it seems like people only want to work with people who are easy to work with. And I get that.
Yep.
But sometimes the people that are a challenge help us to grow, you know? So I feel like by conveying clearly who I am and what I'm offering to do will then attract the right person to me based on that. And then I'll be able to help them. I think you can't put a square peg into a round hole, or maybe you can if you shove it in hard enough,
If you shove it in you hard enough, you sure can.
right?
So, but
But that's when it gets painful and hard.
yeah. So have you found working with people sometimes when they find out who they really are, that they've actually shifted who they want to work with? Have you found that out before? Can
Hmm.
you give us an example of how that's happened with somebody?
Yeah, I'd love to give an example of how that's happened. Um, so I was working with a copywriter, and she thought that she really wanted to service everyone. She was like, I want to write for everybody. Why wouldn't people want
Sure.
me to write their stories?
Yep.
And she even thought about writing books for other people,
Wow.
but she had the opportunity to help someone to edit their book, and it was a horrible fit. And she was like, "Oh,
Okay.
actually, this is not what I want to
I
do.
don't like that. Yeah.
I don't like this." And as she was working with people and having these different opportunities come to her, the more she found out the people that she loves to work with are the people who have the story, but not the time to convey it in.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
She has this magic ability to listen to you and to write as if she were you, not
Hmm.
ChatGPT. This is all from her. So she has that ghost writing ability. So of course she
Sure.
thought, I should be able to write books. I
Right for
should be able
anybody.
to edit. But sometimes we have to try something to know, oh, actually, that's not for me.
Yep.
So that's how I've seen that kind of change, and maybe that's an experience that some of us have, or we have to go into it and try it and then realize,
Yep.
ooh, I didn't have to try a wedding to know I didn't want to do
No, you
it.
didn't want to. Of course. Yeah, I get that. It's very good. Well, on Redeeming to Business Today podcast and show, we want to talk about God as well. How
Mhm.
has knowing God impacted your life and your business, specifically more your business?
I feel like if it wasn't for God, I would have given up a long time ago.
Okay,
I became a Christian at a really young age. I was 7. And I'm so thankful for that opportunity that I had to hear the gospel and to hear how I could be and try as hard as I could. I'm a little bit of a like people pleaser. I just want to do everything right and get everything right.
sure.
And there wasn't going to be enough that I could do to get it all right in order for God to accept me. And coming to that understanding at 7, I think it's life changing whenever you come to that decision. But being young, I feel like I had the opportunity to accept that Jesus died on the cross for my sins and understand that he paid that full punishment for me so that I could not only go to heaven when I died, but to have a new and different life depending on him. And I feel like without making that decision, I would have so much more floundering. I
Mm,
would not have that foundation of, okay, things are hard. I mentioned that my parents were entrepreneurs, and I saw my dad go through really hard times, and we would come
Sure.
together around the dinner table, and he would say, "Hey," he was super open with us, maybe more than he should have been. But in some ways,
Yep.
I'm just so thankful that he was like, it's been a really hard month, and
Mm.
things have not gone the way that we had hoped that they would go. So we just need to pray and ask God to provide for us and take care of us. And, either the people that owe me money will write a check and put it
Yep.
in the mail,
Yep. Yep.
or that I'll be able to have new business. And every single time there would be the check would come the next day, or he would go out to work and get a lot of business on
More
that
business.
day.
Good.
Um, and I'm not saying my parents are not millionaires, but God took care of us and He provided for us. And so that's what I feel like God showed me with my business. And I'm not going to say that I'm perfect and like, oh, I've arrived and I totally
Yep.
am
Sure.
amazing at depending
Sure.
on God, because I'm still struggling. But when I'm struggling, we get around the kitchen table and
Mm.
we talk about it and we pray about it. And I'm so thankful for that heritage that I have, of faith and dependence. And I think it's really interesting, like even just thinking about it right now as I'm telling you. So many times I'm like, well, ugh, I just wish that business was good. So wait a minute. So I didn't have to depend on God. Hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
So I think it's really interesting to think of it in light of that. Like,
Sure.
I am fully trusting and depending on the Lord, um, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. So you, with your family, your children, you get around the table and talk to them when things aren't going well. That's
Yeah.
neat. That's a neat heritage you're bringing from your parents to your family too. That's cool because that helps them see that yeah, we God and God's blessing does affect business. Yep.
Yes. And is affecting our daily life, and I feel like I used to think the highest thing in life was to be in the full-time ministry, being a pastor, a pastor's wife, an
Sure.
evangelist or a missionary. Um, and that was that like high calling and desire to be that. And I feel like there are still ways to serve and to love God and to be in ministry that
Sure.
isn't the typical title. We
Yep.
all are in the service of God and loving others and pointing them to Jesus. So,
So have you been able to, or how have you been able to use your business to advance God's kingdom? Can you see a clear path there?
oh, definitely. I'm not very shy about my
Okay.
faith. And so when I have one-on-ones, when I have meetings with people,
Okay.
I I try to look for ways I call it planting a faith flag, to bring
Faith
up
flight.
faith, to bring up
Okay.
Jesus, to talk about the Lord. Um, and whether or not it's just saying, oh, that's such a blessing, or to talk about God. And then if I see that there's a door open, then I'll walk a little into that door.
Sure.
And sometimes the door is wide open and we have a gospel conversation. Sometimes the door is a little bit open and it's just enough for me to maybe quote a verse, or share something that God's done for me in my day. Um, and maybe it's just that I was able to um, tell them that I was praying for them. I think there's lots of different ways that we can sprinkle faith in our business and faith flags without being like, all right, you need to trust Jesus.
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
there's
Well,
ways
that's
that we can
yeah.
gently share, and shine
Gently
our
share is
light.
good.
I don't think we need to be obnoxious about it, but I think we can shine brightly for Christ.
Yep. Very good. Excellent. So what's next for you? Do you got a couple minutes to share what's next for you on the horizon? Do you have anything new coming?
Yeah, I'm super excited. When I'm helping people with their branding and with their brand photography, I also help people with content for social media. And that
Okay.
does generate offsite SEO. which I'm really happy that I can help people make those connections to their website. That's so necessary. And so now I'm partnering with Maury Renee and Step Up Referrals. And this will be a referral based directory for businesses that want to pay it forward, but also want to be a part of a community of other businesses that are paying it forward, that are referral based. It'll be really
Okay.
like Yelp for referral based businesses. And it will be searchable. It will be something that people can go to when they're in a new area, look up the city, see the businesses that are referral based. And we're doing that for a really low monthly price of $29. And for nonprofits,
Mm,
we're going to do that
okay.
for $9. And so many people have said, what in the world? This is crazy. Why are you offering it that low?
Sure.
And our response is that we really want to help everybody, honestly.
Yep.
And we know that Yelp is $500 for an ad on Yelp, and not new businesses can't afford that. Businesses
Sure.
that are
Yep.
trying to get out there at the very beginning, we can't afford that. And so we want to make it something that everyone can afford, and then everyone can benefit,
Yep.
and we're just really excited. We know it's going to help a lot of people. And we also have put in a community portion because I don't think, like I said before, we are made to be in
With
community.
people.
And so we have a community part of the website that will be a place for people to connect, forums where they can chat. We'll have special offers that are only for our members that we have cultivated and partnered with other businesses for. And I just know it's going to benefit so many people, especially right now when things are challenging in the economy. We just want to help. So I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing with Step Up Referrals. And it's supposed to launch very soon, maybe even by the time this airs. So that is www.stepupreferrals.com.
Okay. Very good. That is very cool. Very cool. And we'll definitely put that in the show notes. So if our listeners wanted to get you as a branding coach or work with you, how can we connect with you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, a really good way to get connected is on LinkedIn, Trae Bohlen. You can also look at my website, photographybytrae.com. I have a contact that you can fill out, and that form will come to me. But I really love connections on LinkedIn. I do share weekly my business recipes where I try to think of some recipe that I've cooked up and how it relates to business. So I'm always sharing that. And I love new connections and new business friends. So I hope you'll find me on LinkedIn.